I was very excited to see Takara was working on Masterpiece combiners. I'm getting real bored of modern third-party stuff. It's a lot of the same crap over and over and over and over again by different companies within companies, led. It's just a lot of the same crap, and to me it's getting very stale. Fans hobby and stuff are like shaking it up a little bit, but right now I'm getting quite bored. Masterpiece was kind of feeling like that, with the odd MPM cropping up to shape things up a bit, but then they announced MPG and I was like, bruh, I'm in. But why did I buy this over the Moon Studios one? I mean, the concepts are very much the same, but the Moon Studios ones are cheaper. But the price being cheaper to justify it being quote-unquote better than the MPG one, I don't follow behind. They are cheaper because Takara pays for more employees, a much wider distribution set, higher quality materials, a much longer design process, better accessories, spending time on making slightly better transformations, etc. Moon Studios, i.e. Zeta Toys, doesn't do a lot of that. There's no real marketing budget. They use cheap materials, which is another video in and of itself, which make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. And their toys feel rushed to me. Having seen the Moon Studios one in person at TFCon, Shouki is way off from his animation counterpart, and usually I'm all for stylization, but like, why did they stretch my boy? They did put him through a taffy puller. I really hate the proportions of the Zeta Toys one, and that thing was also literally falling to bits at the convention. The combiner could not hold its arms on. This one, I trust Takara more after their recent wins with Skids, Nightbird, and look at Jetfire. I still can't get over how cheap that is for that size. So Takara got my vote on the train bots, and oh boy, I'm glad I went with this one. This is their first ever attempt at a full-scale combiner, so there will be some growing pains, and there definitely are some, but it's still fun. Starting in train mode, because every mode has a lot to talk about, and this was in train mode when I started writing this, it's to scale. Now, Transformers fans and scale is always a weird thing. People look at the infamous Sunbow chart for scaling, but like in animation they change sizes all the time, and not just in G1 and other things. Like in Beast Wars, Dinobot was like 290 feet tall or something in one shot just to make it look more epic against the sun. Movie bots change sizes a lot too. Grimlock is a great example of that. In G1, I don't even have to mention G1, you guys already know about that. So scaling is such an inconsistent thing in Transformers that's really down to your personal taste of how you want certain characters to be sized. But here, Takara decided to go for a more uniform scale with its set of toys. HO scale. HO scale is a scale very commonly used in model trains. I don't know anything about model trains, but all the ones that we have are HO scale. And so this fits on our tracks. It looks absolutely great next to all the other trains, and I love how it just seamlessly fits into this setting. His wheel sections don't turn, which is a bit of a bother, but it would have made him a bit more fiddly in transformation, so I'm okay with that. I love the detail put into this train. It's a lot more proportional and full of life than the American football looking thing we got from Zeta Toys. The blue stripe down the side looks amazing, and the silver on top is very pleasing. All the little rivets and bits of tooling are just on point. Even the back of the train has its door picked out, which looks awesome. He does have an attachment point, however, it won't work on any of the trains I have. Shame, but also not bothered by that, as the robot mode is how I'm displaying these guys. I was gonna get the Moon Studios Shine, which is what they call their Shouki, to compare the two, but I'm not spending essentially the same price on a toy I really don't want. The best you're gonna get are just some images to compare. It's quite long, so you can pick it up and hit someone with it. You could jobby it up someone's ass. You could javelin it. I don't know. It does feel nice. Plastics it uses are really smooth, and the finish is consistent throughout the entire toy because it uses clear plastic, which is a concern to a lot of people, but it is thick. I've noticed with Legacy that clear plastic has gotten a lot stronger since War for Cybertron, and it seems to show here too. Plus it's an MP, so you're automatically going to be more delicate with it because it's a $200 Canadian figure. He does have a lot of stuff in this mode because every accessory is useful. He comes with this chest plate and gun, which can both store, well, the chest plate can go inside and the gun can go underneath, but on my copy the gun has no grip and just falls off. I can just thicken the tab, that's no problem. But the chest plate tucks neatly away inside, which I like quite a bit. You can remove the chest plate and replace it with 2 seats for the MP minifigs or maybe some Diaclone toys or something. I like that a lot. It doesn't compromise any of the other modes. It's just a transformation step that would be necessary anyway, so they added seats in there. You also get a stand adapter, but I don't have any of the Masterpiece stands, so I don't really care. But the best thing you get with this guy is he comes with friggin' HO track. Unfortunately, the track I already have isn't compatible. I don't know if there's like a standard when it comes to attachment points on track, but it would have been nice. But it's still cool that he comes with it. The Moon Studios doesn't even come with that, and I feel for a train toy, that's a necessary inclusion. Plus all the other train bots will have it, and you can attach it all together and make one long thing. I can't wait to see how that looks. And it just looks great next to Siege Astro Train too. To me, I like that look a lot. They're both the same size, which is really cool. Transformation is a bit much at the first go. Instructions are good, but just go watch MGo's JTI. It's a lot more easy to follow than the stupid instructions. Swinging the panels on the legs around can be a bit jank, and the clear tabs are something to make note about. However, the joints they're on are really stiff and strong, so if the tabs do break, the toy isn't ruined in the slightest. It'll still work perfectly fine. The backpack you fold up like this, but I don't really like how that looks with a plate sticking out the bottom there. You can rearrange the backpack to be in its chest plate configuration, kind of, and it sits a little bit better and works for me. Anyways, it doesn't have that flap sticking out of his ass. I like this. It has its drawbacks, but I like it. The back of the legs are a bit messy and weird with this gap. You can store the gun there, but it doesn't really fill it in super well. But hey, at least it has a place to store the gun. I quite like that. And these panels on the back of the arms are so that the wings in combine mode aren't separate parts, but it does look a bit weird. However, I like to flare them out a bit and make it look like a robotic, like, short cape. It looks pretty cool. This robot mode is nice to me. You can see the train bits on it and it works quite well. It can get a bit messy in some places, but it feels nice. It looks more on point in its proportions and backpack to the animation model, and the paint and glossy finish just work very well here. The paint feels really durable and unchippable, unlike some of the previous Masterpiece toys, and the application is quite pleasing. The train panels on the arms are pretty accurate to the show, however, they do get in the way of those back flaps a bit, but as I said, those flaps are on a lot of hinges, so you can just get them out of the way. I hate the hands. They're weird. They're too big and the fingers are really weird and long and gangly. I'm not a fan of how they look. Even when holding the gun, they look weird. I just keep them closed. The paint matching is done very well. The blue and the white just match each other on different materials. Paint matching is difficult because materials can react differently to certain paints, but here it's done very well between plastic colored pieces and painted clear plastic and painted normal plastic. He isn't huge, and scale for robots is weird in any G1 cartoon, but it works for the HO scale and the combine mode. 6-shot was about half the size of Raiden in a lot of the shots in a couple of episodes I've seen, so I feel like this size for him is going to work in combine mode quite a bit. Posing is pretty good. Some of the kibble bits can get in the way, but you can still get him into some epic poses. The hands, like I said, they're really goofy to pose, and the backpack can feel a bit like Studio Series Galvatron. When picking it up, it shifts a little bit, especially in the configuration I have it in. But the wing bits are really good at just getting him into a lot more dynamicness. If you want to flare it out to make it look like he's coming at you, it works quite well. My bicep swivel on the one side also likes to come off. There's a little bit of plastic in there I just need to shave off and then it'll be fine. If this was all this figure did, I would say it's probably not worth the value. However, it does combine. And I'll film the actual sped up transformation of the combine mode once I get all of these figures in hand. I do wish the chest plate wasn't separate because the whole thing with the wings being integrated was nice, but then they just made the chest plate separate anyways. I feel like if you're going to go a route, go one. All separate or all integrated. And honestly, I would have preferred if the wings were separate because then it would have cleaned up the robot a little bit. But the combine mode is an upper torso. I can't really judge anything right now because none of the other connecting parts have been released yet. MPG-01 I believe his name is, comes out like in December, so we'll have to see when that thing shows up. It's torso, nothing real else to say about it. You can flip his head up and that looks funny, but I mean there's not much else to say about the torso, so moving on. I'm very excited for where this goes. I do recommend it. It's $154 to $158 US depending on where you look, and that's not a bad price. I see a lot of people go, this is not worth a $200 figure. It's not $200, well it's 200 Canadian, but it's not $200 US. It's $150 US, and you're getting a lot of figure for 150 US bucks. I think it's worth it. The thing is, it is the first of its kind, and it is wonky in a couple areas because of that. I feel like once we get more and more of these MPG guys, they're going to be ironed out a lot more based on feedback Takaras getting from these figures. But I'm glad they started with Raiden and not something like Bruticus for the first time. Plus, this is a Japanese toy line, so making it a Japanese combiner just makes more sense. But yeah, I recommend it. I think it looks cool. I think it's leagues better than the Moon Studios one. I don't even like Zeta Toys figures anyways, so I wouldn't have bought that. Plus, Zeta Toys as a company is just a bit weird. But that's besides the point. I like it. I think you should pick it up. But that's my look at Masterpiece or MPG Shouki. Follow me on Shouki, I don't know how to pronounce it. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.